Alright guys, you can't go wrong. This time of year when the vegetation's starting to die off, doesn't have quite the strength as a green vegetation would. It's starting to die off. A bait like a spinnerbait is awesome because it just pushes the vegetation out of the way. Spinnerbait's a lot more weedless than people give it credit for. I can fish this thing everywhere too. I'm throwing it right in the heart of the lily pads. And then I can cover shallow flats with it too. So it makes it a perfect kind of search bait. I've seen a lot of bluegills, hearing a lot of bluegills. This is a really cool bait, replicating a bluegill. Power pulled down so we don't drift away too much here. I'm fishing this on a 7-foot medium heavy, something with a little forgiveness and a high-speed reel, so I can really impart some action to that spinnerbait. This watercolor is a little dirty, so the spinnerbait looks awesome. It's not overly bright. I mean, you want to use natural colors, but something that's still loud that they can feel. So like a bladed bait is a perfect thing because it mimics natural forage, but it draws them in without being too aggressive. The same can be true vice versa, because like I said, maybe they can see it a little bit better, the contrast, but I just seem to get more bites on a natural color. There we go. And it might look kind of silly. Oop, there we go. Skinny little bass there. Might look kind of silly because, you know, the spinnerbait's kind of tumbling over the lily pads. But when it hits a pocket, the blades have a few seconds to turn, and that's when you get bit, I'm telling you. Skip along, kind of draw their attention frantically on the surface, and then you got just a little patch to move the blades, and that's when you'll get bit. See, right in that pocket. Right in that pocket. Just a second to sink. I'm right up in the lily pads. I'm throwing the spinnerbait wherever I want. I don't know if you can see in front of me, but there's all kinds of bluegills on the surface. So I'm gonna insert myself, me being the spinnerbait, in and amongst the bluegills and see if I look any more tantalizing than a natural bluegill might, because obviously I look a little different, and that tends to get fish's attention. See, the lily pads over here are starting to get brown tops on them. That means they're starting to die back. That means they're really brittle. Not only can I fish a spinnerbait through them clean, but I can get my kayak through them clean, which is a big deal when I'm fishing this shallow. So I just casted way up in the lily pads. Oh, I got a big wake on me. Got him. Or something. This isn't, the smaller one stole it. There's 2 wakes coming in. This one came out of nowhere. Pop that guy off. Thank you. Now I'm getting a little deeper. The places I can run a spinnerbait are getting a little more sparse, the thicker in the pads I get, obviously. But it's still not a deterrent. Especially when you think about a spinnerbait, you can steer it. You just move the angle of your rod and you can kind of guide it through little paths. Ooh, there we go. Just like that. Dinkers. I'm trying to fish in these pads, assuming since it's the only cover in the lake, there isn't much weeds out deeper, that the bigger bass are going to use this as cover to ambush out of. Like I said, I'm concentrating my efforts. I could just go throw this thing over flats all day, but I'm willing to fight the lily pads to get more and bigger bites, to put it bluntly. Another thing about throwing the spinnerbait up in the weeds like that is it gives it the appearance that it's a fleeing fish. So when you think about it, these lily pads are chock full of bluegills themselves. So yeah, bass is surrounded by bluegills all the time sitting in these pads, But if you give it the illusion that it's being chased, that triggers a reaction bite. Those fish will just change their attitude super quick. Another largemouth on the spinnerbait. I mean, it's brainless. It's pretty easy, literally. Spinnerbait does all the work for you. You just got to put it in the right place, essentially. I'm just looking for the little pockets and the lily pads where a bass is just sitting and waiting to ambush, you know.